the sign reads, "Hey, KU, you're not in Kansas anymore." Sam Bradford inside the stadium loosening up, prepares to do battle with Todd Reesing, who was the second-team All-Conference QB last year. 100th meeting between OU and KU. Welcome to college football, presented by Best Buy. This afternoon from Norman, Oklahoma, it's the 16th-ranked Kansas Jayhawks taking on the 4th-ranked Oklahoma Sooners in another Big 12 heavyweight fight. Right now, let's take a look at the standings. First of all, in the Big 12 North. And the numbers, Kansas at 2-0. Then comes Missouri, K-State, and Nebraska, followed by Colorado and Iowa State. And in the South, how about these numbers? Oklahoma State and Texas sitting in the unbeaten seats along with Texas Tech. Oklahoma number 4 in the nation, but they're in the number 4 spot in the Big 12 South. Hi, everybody. Ron Franklin, and welcome to Norman, Oklahoma. And speaking of coming to you from the network that features the makeovers, the extreme makeovers, well, we had certainly that this past week. Oklahoma State and Texas vaulting to the top and in the unbeaten position. But as you all know, we got a lot of football left to play here in the Big 12. Ed Cunningham joins me again this afternoon. And one thing that is a given, with all the great quarterbacks in this league, 2 more this afternoon that face off, both who are so important to their, essentially, for their football team.
And I'm not sure in the history of the game, at least as long as we're around, we're going to see a conference like this that is so good at the quarterback position. And like you mentioned, we're going to see that again here today. Everybody's been talking about the game that Sam Bradford had last week in a losing effort to Texas. But one guy, huge numbers for Bradford, that I think a lot of people around the country have forgotten about was Todd Reesing. You said right at the top of the show, Ron, second team all-conference last year, but nobody has talked about Todd Reesing because of Colt McCoy and Chase Daniel in those great years. But when you look at the career numbers of these 2 young quarterbacks, it's staggering. And here's a good useless stat. That 2 losses by Todd Reesing, both of them in pro stadiums. He's never lost in a college building. If that's going to continue, a big day is needed for Todd Reesing today in Kansas.
The offensive explosion that's taken place in the Big 12 has simply been remarkable, and 2 of the men most responsible for that are on opposite sidelines this afternoon. We'll have more on that, and we'll kick it off from Norman when we return. For the Oklahoma Sooners, a certain extra amount of focus appeared to be on that group as they took the field just a couple of moments ago to a standing ovation from this packed house. And the Sooners, knowing full well it is pure and simple. You just got to win out. You got to win one at a time as the head man comes out to visit with the officials. Let's go down to the sideline. The 3rd member of our telecast, as usual, Jack Arute. And Jack, take us a little further. How has Oklahoma dealt with the loss this week?
Well, that loss to Texas, and some people were worried there might be a hangover, but what Bob Stoops did, he did what he does whether the team wins or loses. On Sunday, he went through the tape. He talked to his coaches. He talked to his players. He said, look, this is our barometer. 2 questions. Did we play as hard against Texas as we could? And did we play against Texas without making mental errors? The answer was overwhelmingly yes to both. He said, well, then it's time for us just to move on. Like one of his coaches, Bobby Jack Wright, said, look, regardless of whether we won or lost in Dallas, we've still got to win out the rest of the season.
Okay, Jack, as usual, we look forward to hearing from you this afternoon. We got a picture of Coach Stoops a moment ago. Here you see Mark Mangino. And between these 2, Stoops and Mangino, these coaches and families are very, very close. They've worked together for many years.
It goes back to 1999 when Bob Stoops was hired. He brought in Mark Mangino and, of course, Mike Leach, who's now at Texas Tech. 2 great offensive minds. They didn't have a quarterback, so they went out and got Josh Heupel, who is now a quarterbacks coach on the Oklahoma staff. So a reunion of sorts today for the 2000 national champions.
And the truly amazing thing about the fact they got Heupel, Josh was honest and said nobody really was offering him a scholarship except what then was called Division I AA or in that vicinity. And what a magnificent job he did here in Norman, Oklahoma for the Sooners.
And Mark Mangino had taken over as the offensive coordinator, of course, after just 1 year here. Mike Leach went to be the head man at Texas Tech, who looked like they got a win today against A&M. So Bob Stoops' first staff's fingerprints are all over this conference.
As Bremstetter prepares to kick it off, and I mean, not to overwork the phrase, but Chamber of Commerce type of weather, like 71 degrees, and I can't see a cloud from the top of this stadium. It is beautiful. Here's the kick. Going to be returnable from the goal line, and it's Murray. 10, 15, 20, and is going to be tripped up at the 23-yard line. And now, as we take a look at the offensive unit for the Oklahoma Sooners, it gives us an opportunity to stare down Mr. Bradford. Sam, he'll come on the field and take a look at the top as we will scroll the all 11 starters for the Sooners.
And of course, Bradford will go very fast. We saw this last week against Texas. His game overlooked a little bit last week, but he had 387 yards and 5 touchdown passes against Texas, the most ever, both of those by a Sooner quarterback against Texas.
They go option. Pitch back goes to Murray, and Murray is going to have a couple as he brings it to the right side. Tackled by Mike Rivera. Well, a lot of work this week and some things that normally don't happen. But I think after only 61 yards against the Texas Longhorns last week on the ground, that the Sooners won in the worst way, not only to prove to Kansas, but to themselves that they can run the football. Here comes Chris Brown. This time they run it to the right side, and Brown is close to the first down at around the 38. Shoved out Brorson and Joe Mortensen.
And Brown, the guy, everyone kind of waiting to see if DeMarco Murray can get back into that mode where he was last year, but that huge run against Texas. But this is the steady Eddie. Brown is the steady Eddie of this offense, and he's got great lean. And we're going to see this whole drive, just straight ahead pounding.
Springer, who almost jumped off sides, and the running play will go for very short yardage, but it'll be enough for the first down, and that'll move the sticks. And that means that number 7, DeMarco Murray, comes off the sideline immediately, and he will come into the Oklahoma backfield. Now, Darius Parrish, if they choose to bring him in the ball game, and he's in there, 6'4", 341. He's a freshman right out of high school in Wichita. So they said, you want size? We got size. Let's keep an eye on Darius and see what he does on this snap. He is right there on the center's nose, and John Cooper is saying, wow, there's a large cloud that has come over my body when the man went in the three-point stance. On first down. Great protection. Ball is delivered and wide open. In fact, surprisingly how open Iglesias, when he turned around to look, there was just nobody there. Finally shoved out of bounds at the Kansas 30-yard line. Stuffy defensively.
What a great job crossing the formation by Iglesias. And that's why he was so wide open. He was completely lost by the Kansas defense. And you're right, Ron, right when he turned around, he almost froze. He thought there's got to be somebody there.
Well, they roll the pocket the other way this time and into the boundary. The ball is thrown again to Iglesias. Got to be a gain of around 7 yards.
Kevin Wilson, the offensive coordinator, there on the left for OU, talked about how all of these toys that they have, he does sometimes overthink it. He was very honest with us yesterday.
What did he admit?
Yeah,
he said, when we're not balanced, we're not very good. I formation, and they throw it again, and it's Iglesias. Great move in the open field, and because of it, he'll not only have the first down, it'll be 1st and 10 down to the 12 as Justin Thornton, well, there was some laundry left on the field. He turned him completely around.
Yeah, so difficult to get out in space against this type of player. Even more difficult when you're not a quarterback type of athlete.
Play action, looks for the end zone, got a man, touchdown, Clapp. Matt Clapp, the junior fullback out of Phoenix. And he had 2 guys he could have thrown to, both would have scored.
Well, but when you're a quarterback, you have to keep the fullback happy. You know that. Excellent job by Clapp. We saw his hands earlier on that sideline catch. The coaches talked about he redshirted last year, played some as a freshman, got banged up. They said, you know what, we'll sit you down. We got Brody Eldridge, who was an all Big 12 fullback last year, saved him a year, and they say he's such a better athlete than you think out of the backfield.
Extra point attempt is up, and it's good. And as we go to break, one more look at Matt Clapp and his touchdown. You see him catch it in the flat and then legs it in for the touchdown. Well, some of the Oklahoma cheerleaders before this afternoon's ball game here at homecoming in Norman, Oklahoma. These two teams, this is the 100th meeting between the two. Of course, you go back to the Big 8 and beyond, but the Big 12, of course, is where both reside now. Oklahoma in the south, and of course KU in the north. And Kansas, not only winning the North and the Big 12 basketball championship last year, went on to win the national championship. And last night at their Midnight Madness, it got very mad, but also sad in Lawrence, because they put the flag down. Crawford from the 1. Hurdles a couple of people, and he's all the way out to the 42-yard line. And KU missing a 240-pound tailback that was Mr. Keep You Off Guard. He did a great job. Keeper, Reesing. I'll tell you what, that is a wonderful open field move. He dropped some laundry from the defenders of Oklahoma on that play.
Well, if you're an OU fan, close your eyes, because this is going to remind you of number 12 from Texas. Last week, I believe that was working one-on-one against Gerald McCoy, who's a very good athlete, although a 300-pounder. But that's exactly what McCoy did a couple of times last week. It looked like they had him in the backfield. He gets out, picks up 8 or 9 yards.
Second down at about 1. 7-0. Sooners lead. Pass long over the middle, caught. It's Briscoe, and he will have a first down. And let's see where they spot him down. He'll be able to pick up a first down without scoring, without scoring a touchdown. It's 26 yards.
Excellent job. Meyer's going to run here. Briscoe comes inside, and the ball was a little wobbly when it came out, so it was late, because the ball was thrown right on time, but Briscoe able to go up and make the play. From the 11-yard line, Kansas trying to answer. Reesing walks up and says something to Cantrell, his center. Reesing, pressure again, steps up, throws the ball. He caught it. Was it good for the touchdown? And the official says no. Now here's the dangerous thing. A ball boy standing in the corner of the end zone put both arms up, and I almost said touchdown. I would assume he's a Kansas ball boy. It looked to me like the ball was out of the end zone. A good call. And here's where you have to be careful. Reesing, such a good runner. Run pass option to the right, because then you've got 3rd and 1. I think you throw one into the end zone if you're Kansas here over to the right to these 3 wides.
Crawford is the only running back in the backfield with him. 3 wide receivers to the top of your screen, as you can see. Reesing looks back to the bench to get the play. Straight ahead, running play, and it is Crawford, and they say now touchdown. And the waving wheat here in Norman, Oklahoma, from those faithful who have come down from KU.
That offensive drive by Kansas after Oklahoma went right down the field and scored reminded me a little bit of last week's game in Dallas. Every time Oklahoma got going, Texas had some answer there in the first quarter and second quarter.
Brand Sutter kicks the extra point. It's good. That is the first TD OU has allowed in the first quarter this season. So a couple of firsts in this one so far. Oklahoma did not score on their first drive. First time in 28 attempts that they had done it. 28 straight. Then it goes blank. Third rushing touchdown actually for Crawford in his first kickoff return, and 42-yard return just at the beginning of the drive. He's the one who set it up as Murray gets the kick, and Murray will be stopped just across the 21. Jack Arute, check with you.
Ron, I had an opportunity to chat with Kevin Wilson before the game, and we talked a little bit about what happened to Texas like he did yesterday, and he admitted to me as well that I said, Coach, I get the feeling you're going to try and maybe run a little bit more, and he brought up this quote again: we're a multiple team that plays fast and scores a lot of touchdowns. And I said, well, all right, I understand that, but what about a run-pass ratio for today's game? He said, I don't want to go that way. He said, I want to play to our strengths, but he he gave me the indication that we're going to see a lot more running and a lot more fast break offense, guys.
Okay, well, we're seeing fast break, but we still have not seen a bunch of running as they give it to Murray this time, and he's into the secondary, and they're going to have a gain of about 17 yards. That's the question that we're all asking that begs to be answered. If they can do that, why do you have to hurry up and depend so much on the pass?
When you go back to the last drive, they did start going to that zone with Brown, but Murray is the guy that they want to see if he can get it done.
Well, this one goes out to Gresham, the tight end, and he will be tackled after a gain of only 2.
And Murray is a guy who, if he can get going, I think that we'll see the play selection start to go more towards the running game. But we've started to see the pass game more and more in the last 3 weeks.
Oklahoma rushing today, 9 attempts, 44 yards. And of course, as you can figure out easily, that's almost 5 yards per try. And they'll take that every time. See, a big opening, and there's the fullback Clapp. And he's going to take it all the way to the 46. It'll be 3rd down. They'll need 1.5 yards for the first down. Holt defensively.
And what a changeup to put Matt Clapp at the tailback position that time. That was the one back we saw Chris Brown running out of earlier, the exact same zone play to the left.
Tied at 7. Running play to the right side. Has 5, has 10, and it's going to be a first down Oklahoma as Murray finally was pushed out of bounds by Harper.
And they're starting to move Clapp around. Remember, Brody Eldridge is injured, so now he played tailback last time. Now you move him, he double teams to the outside linebacker and opens up a great hole. Matt Clapp is giving them a variation with Eldridge out that they wouldn't have had without him.
Sam Bradford gets the play, and you can see right now he's going to go under center, and they'll go straight ahead with the running play, and it's going to be Clapp who will be stopped after a gain of a couple.
But now be careful. I know the young man is doing well for you, but he is a fullback at almost 240 pounds. Don't wear him out. Kevin Wilson has found a new toy that he can throw around in different places. Now he goes from the tailback to the I fullback. Wow.
Under 2 minutes to play in this opening quarter. Short drop, quick out throw. On the run for the first down is Broyles. Broyles, the last time our crew was here, it was his coming out party. That was against Cincinnati, and he had an absolute field day.
And when the coaches talk about Broyles, they had to wait a year for him to get onto the team. He got caught with some off-field transgressions, was suspended last year, was supposed to play, and they don't want to use the name Mark Clayton, but they used the name Mark Clayton when talking about Ryan Broyles.
He can be that good. I don't think there's any question. From the 32, KU showing blitz, and they come from the middle and the corner. Wide open, they've blown the coverage, and the receiver, Murray, falls down. All he had to do was walk in for the touchdown, and it was thrown a little too high, and he falls down. Take a look at it.
Well, this is the second time that Kansas has lost sight of someone. That one, Murray is not going to be happy about that when they watch film tomorrow.
5 seconds left in the first quarter. Clearing pass, Iglesias right over the middle at the 10. Reverses his field. It'll be 1st and goal at the 4-yard line. As the clock goes to 00, they'll move it to the other end of the field to see if the Oklahoma Sooners can put this one in. He's close to the first down, but I'm not sure he got it. The numbers on Sam Bradford in the opening quarter: 16 of 22, 188, and a touchdown. This presentation of college football presented by Best Buy will continue after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Well, we are back. John Cooper straight from the bench right over the football, so I assume that Sam Bradford's going to go under center, and we're going to run this play in a hurry as we open the second quarter. It is the 10th play of the drive. Everything started back at the 21-yard line.
I don't want to extrapolate, but that would be 1,000+ yards in a game if they kept this pace up. That's rather ridiculous for a first quarter.
Gresham in motion, and Murray to the right side, spins off a tackler, and walks into the end zone. I thought he was going to get hit, picked up, and jammed into the turf, and he eludes the tackler. That was Rivera.
Well, Kevin Wilson told us when they did that run practice on Monday, very out of character. They usually just do kind of a walkthrough, fix some problems, but they got after it on Monday on a run drill. And part of that was to see where Murray was, and they said he had the best practice of the season on Monday, and I think we're starting to see number 7 get the form back that you saw last year before he got injured at Texas Tech.
Jimmy Stevens to attempt the extra point. So he got it. Here's a replay of that touchdown run.
And this was not what you saw last week by DeMarco Murray against Texas. He would have gone down on that first contact. 6 rushes, just a few yards last week, under 1 yard per carry. And he does look like he's gotten much healthier in this week.
This is from the 2-yard line. Jacques Crawford got a return, but not nearly as far this time, and he got whacked.
Well, you hear a lot of people talk about he can make all of the throws, and that's what the coaches say about Todd Reesing. In coverage, or excuse me, under pressure, he has to lob one there. He throws a quick slant, and then down the field under pressure again, he delivers a strike. All the throws, meaning he can throw every different route, including the out cut across the field, and can throw with touch and accuracy and velocity when necessary. This man can make all of the throws.
Well, the thing you need to understand, he is not a real big human being. We'll get a shot of him going into the huddle here in a minute and show you how the offensive lineman and everyone else just dwarfs him. Play action, sets deep in the pocket, goes deep. Got a man wide open and a blown coverage, and it is Briscoe. How in the world did he get that wide open? And the crowd just groans, asking the same question. 40 yards in the pass play.
Well, this is going to get turned loose on the outside as the cornerback spins out of there. Brian Jackson expecting that Dominique Franks will be there. Not quite sure why Jackson would have spun away from that. He was the deeper of the 2 threats.
Shovel pass. Quigley. 10 at the 5, and he's down to the 2. Angus Quigley, a junior out of Cleburne, Texas, got the shovel pass and takes it almost into the end zone.
Quigley, a young man at 222 pounds that they were trying to work a bunch into the offense earlier because more of the body size of the John Cornish and the Brandon McAnderson type guys. So he's been in and out of the offense a lot. Become more Jake Sharp, but they haven't forgotten about Quigley.
Jake Sharp joins Reesing in the backfield. They scrimmage from the 3-yard line. That shovel pass was just the thing that they needed, and a great job by Reesing of running it. Option play back into the boundary. Sharp, what an open field tackle. Defensively, Lindy Holmes, who made an interception last time down, drops the ball carrier for a loss.
Lindy Holmes, who has played a bunch of different positions for Oklahoma. Played some free safety. He plays cornerback, and the coaches talk about what a great athlete is. He never tires. That's 2 big plays down on the goal line.
3rd down, and the ball is resting at the 6-yard line. 3rd and goal. 4-man rush. Reesing looking, got it over the middle, and the ball is incomplete. Intended knocked down by Lindy Holmes. Now, folks, Lindy Holmes with an open field tackle and now a breakup, and he had an interception on the last drive. Boy, you put a star by his name.
Excellent coverage, too. He never gave up. That play took forever to develop. And Lindy Holmes stayed with Desmond Briscoe the entire time. That's tough to do.
Brand center out of the hold of Kerry Meyer. The ball will be placed down at the 13. 23-yard attempt, and he got it. (14-10), our new score. On that last series, Lindy Holmes really came up gigantic. Interception on the drive prior to that. And an open field tackle and a knockdown to the pass on that one is the kick return. Iglesias back to the 31. 14-10. Bradford over the middle, clearing route, got it complete to Cheney, and Cheney will go for the first down, and he is at the KU 44-yard line.
And Oklahoma's going to go hurry up here with 4:38 and Kansas's offense being able to move the ball. I wouldn't, if I was Bob Stoops, I may say to my offense coordinator, can we slow this down just a touch?
Bradford rolls the pocket and throws it complete again. It's Cheney. And it's going to be a gain of, let's say, 5 yards on the play.
But one thing you can do is with Sam Bradford, he's so accurate. All the quarterbacks, it seems, in the Big 12 are over 70% completion. Those short throws, you can start using those to eat some of the clock as well.
Clock about to go under 4 minutes in this first half. Bradford, quick toss out in the flat, got his running back Murray, and Murray finally forced out of bounds at the 27, and because of the angle, he almost turned it up and scored. Jack Arute, what do you have for us?
Well, Ron, you guys are talking about the accuracy of Sam Bradford. If you consider one thing, that his passion next to football is golf, and Bob Stoops noticed it. He talked to Ed Cunningham about how important it is to have your core correctly. His core is going now.
Murray came within a step of breaking that one. Jack, to follow up your point, and if you want to finish it, what he does when he steps through to complete the follow through is something what I think he gets from golf. Isn't that right?
Well, yeah, he gets it from golf, but take it from a guy that has always thought that golf was a good walk spoiled. I don't know where he gets his core from, because I've never hit the ball.
Okay, Jack, that's enough. Thanks.
and that's what Bradford worked so hard on, is those core muscles, the abdomens, the obliques, the hips, all of those things during the offseason. And that's how you generate a 300-yard drive. So that's how he strengthened his arm.
Here's Murray taking it inside the 15 and down to the 14-yard line. It is a first down, Oklahoma. So we still got plenty of time, Ed. 3 minutes and 10 seconds, and it'll start moving again.
And if you're Kansas, I think you may want to start thinking about timeouts.
Ninth play of the drive here. Started back at the 31. Chris Brown comes into the ball game at tailback, OU. And they give it to him. Tries to turn the corner. Breaks a tackle at the 10, at the 5. Touchdown, Oklahoma.
I'm not sure how he did not step out of bounds, but I don't think he did.
No, I don't think. No, there were two officials right there running the route with him.
Watch him duck his shoulder underneath. Boy, I don't think he did. What a
crossed over.
What he did.
Like a crossover in basketball with the ball. He crossed over with his step.
What a tough run.
And then went airborne to take it into the end zone. Stevens with the extra point attempt. On the nose. 3 minutes left. Opening half. New score. Oklahoma 21. Kansas 10. So we are back in Norman, Oklahoma. It is homecoming, and the Sooners have just scored their third touchdown of the afternoon and pushed it out to a 21-10 ball game, and we still have 3 minutes showing on the clock. So they not only scored quickly, they scored really in a hurry, and the Jayhawks got plenty of time to work with you.
Yes, they do. And I think that's just what Oklahoma is going to think about offensively. Don't worry about clock management. Let's just get down there and score. And
yeah,
when you're running the ball the way Chris Brown is, you're not going to stop him. You're going to tell him to go out of bounds. So.
Orleans kick, driving. It's going to come down 4 yards deep, and nope, elected not to run it back out. Quick looking pass. That's going to be a gain of 10 yards to Briscoe.
And now for Kansas, with those 2 timeouts and 3 minutes left, and a quarterback who doesn't get shaken, even though he threw that bad interception, came right back and Drove him down the field for a field goal. This is perfect for Kansas. They have plenty of time. They don't have to hurry too bad.
Now pressure. Somebody fell down, and the receiver is wide open. He'll score. 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown. Briscoe, 69 yards, and I lost the number of the defensive back, but he fell down on man coverage, and all alone was Briscoe for the score.
Well, it has been on that side, Lindy Holmes, all game long, and that time it's Jackson. And as he turns to run, Briscoe just runs right by him. And give Kerry Meyer credit for staying with that side of the field, because he could have started working back to the middle and saw that Jackson had fallen down. And Briscoe, well, what a good guy to have back healthy mentally and physically for this KU bunch.
Extra point attempt is up and is good by Brandstetter. And just that quickly, 25 seconds is all it took the Jayhawks. Oklahoma now has enough time to come out and put one in.
They sure do. And why would it be any other way? But I would mention the mental health of Desmond Briscoe. Earlier in the season, Mark Mangino took a bunch of his players, a lot of his receivers, and put them on the bench in practice, moved them down the depth chart, and Briscoe was one of those guys. And at the time, Dexton Fields, a senior, was hurt, not playing much, and he's a guy who raises everyone's level, and they said Briscoe is such a difference maker, we had to send him a message, and now you see why.
This is a high spinner, taking it to 12 by Murray. Murray tries to get outside, now reverses it again, and he has a little bit of a wall. And Murray finally tackled as a flag comes down at the 32.
During the return, legal block in the back. And the return team, 10-yard penalty.
Bradford clearing right over the middle. They love this one, and he's got him open. It's Iglesias. Iglesias inside the 25 and then just runs out of bounds. And we still have 1:58 showing on the clock.
Well, he doesn't want to be outdone by Desmond Briscoe. But you said it best. That was a clear out, and it was all because of the protection that came underneath. And now the defense has had to run with the deep routes. It takes them a while to get back to make the tackle.
Yep. Very quickly to the line of scrimmage as they're just now getting the change set across the way. It is 1st and 10. Line of scrimmage is at the KU 20. Basketball on grass. That's what we're seeing here today. But it may be a 5-hour game. I don't know. DeMarco Murray right at the middle. Has 5. Has 10. Counted off at 17 yards. He'll take it to the 4. Tackled by Stuckey.
You know, sometimes you hear coaches like we heard about with Kevin Wilson with Monday's practice. Oh, he's healthy. We've seen it practice. We've seen it practice. Well, they weren't seeing it on the field. And the way that DeMarco Murray has run, remember the one down the goal line where he bounced off the tackle?
You know that's the reason he's here. They were signing another player, and he was playing high school basketball, and the coach said, show him how you can dunk the ball, and he bounced one high off the glass and jammed it, and Stoop said, tell him I have a scholarship for him as well if he wants to come play. That's how the head coach got to see this man Murray, and Murray will put a head down and take it to the 2. Stuckey made that tackle a minute ago and actually saved a touchdown on a runaway run by Murray.
And Kansas, I think, should think about a timeout here. You got 2nd and goal. Maybe if they get to 3rd and goal, because the way that Kansas was moving the ball, I would want some time on the clock to put Reesing back out on the field.
Stewart is coming in, and they will line up, it appears, to attempt a field goal, and this is going to be placed down at the 9-yard line, so a 19-yard attempt. By the way, 701 combined yards in the first half. And he got it. Let's check in quickly with Jackaroo. Jack,
make up your mind. Coach, I was trying to get next to you, talk about so much yardage, over 700 yards. When you look at offenses on both sides, what do you do at halftime to try to make sure you come out on the high side?
Hey, you know what? We're close to making more plays. We had 2 opportunities down here in the red zone, and we didn't get it done, but we will, because our kids are executing well on offense. On defense, we got to play a little bit tighter on the routes. We can't give as much room. They're too fast. And our kids are playing a little cautious, trying to keep them in front of us. We can't do that. We got to get up and be aggressive in the coverage.
What about the performance, though, of Desmond Briscoe in the first half?
He's playing really well. He's a guy who can make plays for us. He's a great athlete. And if we get the ball near him, he'll go catch it.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck.
All right. Thanks, Jack.
Sorry, man.
Okay, thanks, Jack, and thanks to Coach. Our score at halftime, 24-17 Oklahoma. Stay tuned for the Cooper Tires halftime report that comes up right after these messages. And welcome back to college football presented by Best Buy. We are in halftime in Norman, Oklahoma, where our score stands at 24-17 in a ball game that took over 2 hours to play the first half. And we had records galore. Let's see, Iglesias, first half record for receiving. Briscoe, 193 yards receiving. That's a record. Defensively, Kendrick Harper's 9 tackles annihilates his career best, and he did that in a half. How many more records are we going to get in the second half, sir?
Well, unfortunately, I think we're going to see a lot more, especially with the way that Joaquin Iglesias and Desmond Briscoe have been going at it. It's the old, whatever you can do, I can do better. Iglesias catching some balls underneath. Remember, Manuel Johnson is out, so he'll have to be underneath and look for Chaney over the top. But Briscoe has been the beneficiary of some blown coverages by Oklahoma. This one, the safety turned and ran the other way. And then, of course, right before the half, Jackson falls down and goes for big yardage for a touchdown. I would say what you should do at halftime for your adjustments, make sure your defensive backs know what the coverage is.
Well, I guess the hurry up by both teams has caused confusion for each team's defense. So you have to point the finger in that direction, I guess.
Well, and we've been talking about Ryan Reynolds being out for Oklahoma. Even though he doesn't necessarily always set the secondary, he is a calming force in there. Now he's gone. He had gotten the nickname The Rock because they can rely on him, so they have that guy gone, and they look a little discombobulated.
Well, the kick is out of the back of the end zone. Gives us time to say, let's take a look at the Pacific Life game summary. This is the reason we didn't talk about stats at halftime, because look at how many there are to talk about. Those are total yards. 419 Oklahoma, 282 Kansas in one half of football.
If your calculator's broken, that's 701 yards of total offense together. And we said at the end of the first quarter when Oklahoma had 252 that we didn't want to extrapolate to 1,000. They're getting close.
Third down. They need to take it all the way to the 43. Stepping up, got by one, tries to get by a second and throws it complete. Nope, they're going to say incomplete, I believe, because the ball got knocked away.
Well, and you saw the defensive coaches.
They are going to give a completion here.
And I think that Bob Stoops may challenge this. Remember, no, they're saying incomplete now. But remember last week when it looked like Lamont Robinson had that interception against Texas. Ooh, that was closer than I thought, but I think the right call. It looked to me like Meyer may have had that and established himself on the ground, but that's the key. That was why that was not an interception last week for Lamont Robinson against Texas. He never established possession when on the ground.
And that was Lindy Holmes who separated him from the football. So put another asterisk by a play that Lindy Holmes made that is a game-changing performance. As Franks makes the catch, picks up what he can until his own teammate knocks him down. So we'll hold it right here. 13:58 remaining third quarter. And let's show you the numbers on Bradford as you look at Sam.
Very typical. There have been a couple of times there in that first half where he didn't look at his progression in the back of the end zone, stayed locked on the left side. A couple of times in there where he wasn't quite the Bradford that we've gotten to know over the last season and a half, but still very good numbers as you would expect in this offense.
Right over the middle. Chaney, 25, 20, 18. First and 10, Oklahoma. Good for 35 yards.
And And I know it's all about recruiting good athletes, but the Oklahoma coaches do an excellent job of working with their receivers for run after the catch. They're all hand catchers. They're not body catchers, and they do so well with the ball once they catch it.
Option play. Murray breaks a tackle, breaks another, still on his feet. 10 down to the 6. Good heavens, what a second and third effort by Murray as Harper finally pushes him out of bounds.
You know, it's interesting. You were telling that story earlier where they found him on the basketball court. That happens so often because coaches during the season can't see them play live football a lot. They have to watch on tape, so the only thing they can see them do live athletically is basketball a lot of times. Obviously very impressive on the hard court.
Got a free play here. KU jumped offside. Pass caught for the touchdown, Gresham. So they will say, pick up the flag. We're not going to hold to it. And boy, I mean, just over a minute. It took Oklahoma to get on the scoreboard.
Offside, 97 defense, decline, touchdown.
Gresham adding to his OU record. There's that word again, record. We're starting to say that a lot. He is the OU's all-time career leader in touchdown catches for a tight end. He's now up to 18. And that was a short one for him. He usually has long ones this season.
Stevens with the extra point attempt. Got it. So let's take a timeout. 13-13 left in the third quarter. 31 Oklahoma, 17 KU. Good look at Gresham as he sits on the bench. And the outstanding tight end who did have, maybe the ball was thrown a touch behind, but he had another one that he might have taken in for a touchdown that at the 1 yard line on the other end of the field back in the first half.
45 seconds. Kansas got the ball back. Lindy Holmes makes another big play on what would have been a first down to Kerry Meyer, knocks it out of his hands. And all of a sudden you flip the switch and Oklahoma goes back on the attack, and 45 seconds later they're up 31-17.
Moreland's kick. Ball is going to sail over the deep man's head. KU with a first down at their own 20. Sharp and Quigley in the backfield this time. Shovel pass. Quigley. And he's going to go for about 9 yards. Ron Franklin, Ed Cunningham, Jack Arute coming to you from Homecoming in Norman, Oklahoma. We stand at 31-17 OU, and we've just gone under 13 minutes to play in our third quarter. Second and short, down to play with. Here's Sharp. Goes off the left side. He'll have the first down, and that's just about it. Corey Bennett comes from his defensive tackle position to stop the play.
Well, we alluded to it a little earlier about Kansas. Earlier in the season, they were trying to get Sharp to fill into that role of Cornish and McAnderson, the two big backs that they had back-to-back that were so productive. And Mark Mangino, during the bye week before Iowa State, said, guys, we've got to get Sharp. He's a smaller guy, a slasher. We've got to get him plays that fit for him. And thank goodness, if Sharp didn't play as well as he did against Iowa State, they probably lose that ball game.
Yeah. Well, here's the handoff to Sharp. Has 5, has 10. Counted off at about 13 yards. And they run this play, and we watched video on it yesterday. And literally, the quarterback, Reesing, is standing there like, come on, take the ball, because we laughed about it yesterday. And then Sharp takes that thing and pow.
Gone. And the difference there is he's not reading anything. He is following a blocker and running straight ahead. He's not a real good shifty guy. McAnderson was very patient. So you get a lead guy in front of him, and he just chases him.
Well, they reverse on the pitch. In pursuit, defensive lineman can't get there. 50-45, and then bumped out of bounds is Briscoe. So Briscoe has been used for just a little bit of everything today.
Briscoe, a young man who burst onto the scene last year. Of course, Marcus Henry is now gone. He was such a big play guy for them last year. Went to the New York Jets, just recently released, but this was a guy that they didn't really expect to be as good as he was last year. Honorable mention, freshman All-American.
Sharp, big opening. 25, 20, down down to the 17-yard line, finally stopped by Quentin Carter. And I am shocked that they are just slicing up this Oklahoma defense the way they are.
Well, absolutely. This offensive line doing an excellent job. These holes are massive that they are. Anytime they're down blocking and then pulling around, the hole is huge for Sharp to run through.
1st and 10. The ball at the 17. Sharp again. Big opening up the middle. He will score. He walks it in from a line of scrimmage of 17 yards out. And it was like there was nobody in the middle of the field wearing crimson and cream.
Well, the middle of the defensive line, the 2 defensive tackles were lined up in the A gaps right on the shoulders of the center, and there was big gaps on the outside of the guard, and that's exactly where Sharp ran through it. Looked to me like Oklahoma had a misalignment with their defensive front there.
Extra point attempt is good. Let's take a timeout. Surprisingly, as you look at wide open spaces here, watch Sharp right up the middle. Anybody home? Hello, we came to visit. Touchdown.
Kansas cuts the lead to 31-24. Watch Harris and Lewis. Lewis just runs up and gets buried in the fullback. Harris runs up chasing this guy. He's got to be able to read that and get over the top. And this is a walk-in touchdown for Jake Sharp. The pull around, and Lewis just buries himself into that block. He needed to get over into that line of scrimmage a little more, and Sharp walks into the end zone. And with Ryan Reynolds out, Brent Venables, who is the defensive coordinator and also the linebackers coach, has his hands full, and he brings Lewis and Harris over to try to explain, guys, you've got not just fill the gap, you've got to be able to scrape over the top. You can't just run and bury yourself into a pulling lineman or the line of scrimmage. And without Ryan Reynolds, that's a big deal. They are really missing Reynolds' presence.
Well, I mean, what Brent is dealing with right here, and you can see he's not pointing saying that's the corner we're going to meet and have hot dogs and sodas after the ball game. He's saying in the first half, in 12 carries, KU had 47 yards. On the last drive, 5 for 71 yards. Murray. Oklahoma Sooners with a first down at their own 42-yard line. Rarely, Bradford under center. And on the play action, got a man open over the middle, and he's got it at the 22, and it is Chaney down to the 20-yard line. Harris made the tackle. He had the coverage.
Yeah, he had man coverage on that side, and Bradford was looking at this the whole way. He knew he had a mismatch going to the inside. Harris, the best cover corner for Kansas, but Chaney ran a great post route.
It actually double move and dropped it. Now this is going to go for a gain to around the 17. DeMarco Murray tackled by Rivera. Yeah, he made the move, and the defensive back bit that he took it back over the middle, and Sam did a nice job of just laying it out there saying run under it.
Well, he knew he had it the whole way, and you can see him kind of gathering his feet, getting ready for the throw, because he knew he was going to have it when he saw that double move work.
Quick pass, spinning on the move, going in a head-high tackle. Here comes a flag, and that'll be a 15-yarder. It'll go half the distance to the goal by Resby. That was very close to being a backwards pass rather than a forward pass, meaning a running play rather than a passing play. Still doesn't change the face mask if you did grab
foul. First collar.
Oh, there you go.
For 7 on the defense.
Been waiting for that to be called all year.
First down.
Had one last night in the Boise game, and they didn't call it.
That is a new rule and a good rule. Resby, nice job getting up. He grabs inside the pad and yanks him down immediately. Nice call. If he had grabbed it and spun him around and not taken him down immediately, they wouldn't have called it. But I think this is a good rule change. We saw it last week. Beanie Wells got pulled down and almost hurt his foot.
Yeah, I take it back. In the Boise game last night, they did call the horse collar. It was directly from behind. First down and goal, Oklahoma, as they put the ball to rest at the 8. Murray, touchdown, walking. John Cooper, the center, led the way with a magnificent block. You know what's huge for these guys in crimson and cream? Murray. The big thing for them is Murray, I think, has regained that confidence that he seemed as though he had lost a little bit.
It's weird. It was in his head. It was definitely mental. He was healthy. You need a game like this to do that. And down the stretch where Oklahoma has to win out to have a chance to get back in the national championship conversation. Nice to have number 7 healthy mentally and physically.
Jackaroo, what do you have for us?
Well, you're talking about DeMarco Murray and about how he had to get his head right and get in the groove, as they say. He admitted it. He said, look, I know I'm physically able, but he said, what I'm looking for is the big one. At first, I thought he meant the big one was a breakaway TD run. But I think when you see his performance today, what he was talking about was a big one, was just a total 60 minutes of good football. So far, so good.
And you think about the injury he had. He shattered his kneecap. I mean, it broke in half. That's a mind-altering injury. Now, the good news is it's fixable. They staple it back together, and it's not like blowing your ACL. I mean, you do have the rehab, but it's not as debilitating. But think about that. You're laying there, your kneecap's broken in half, and think about how that affects you mentally. And I think Jack's right. He needed a big game, and I think he's had that today. So the mental part comes back.
Westmoreland kicks it to the 2. Flag has come down, and as he's knocked out of bounds at around the 24. So again, KU is playing into the hands of the Oklahoma defense. They're going to start with very poor field position. So third down and 15. Reesing sacked at the 19-yard line. McCoy. And it's the 3rd sack of the afternoon, and that one was the real McCoy.
Well, and talk about the real McCoy. Watch this big athlete make an incredible move all the way back across, and watch him, how quick he gets sideways, turns his body, goes right between the right guard and the center Cantrell. When a guy's moving that fast and that big, it is so hard to slow him down unless you're directly in front of him.
See if he can get a coverage punt off here. Rojas waits for the snap at the 5. That is the end of the 3rd quarter. So we'll talk more about it in just a moment as we change ends of the field and head for the final 15 minutes of play. 38-24 Oklahoma. This presentation of college football presented by Best Buy will continue after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Well, we are back in Norman after 3 quarters, 1,002 combined yards for these two teams. Isn't that amazing?
I want 1,500. I'm not stopping until they give us 1,500.
That's very attainable. We're talking about 2 teams. That might be done by 1. Another 300 in a quarter. So Rojas waits for the snap. Franks is the deep man for the Sooners. He's dropped off to the 45. And he's under it at the 28-yard line. Boy, what a block was thrown. He's going to be tackled just at the 40-yard line. 52 in the punt, 10 on the return. Lindy Holmes, let's take a look at it.
Well, what's amazing about all these plays, of course, that's to stop a touchdown or field goal. These 2 plays in a row were on the same goal-to-go situation. He makes the tackle on Sharp and then knocks away on Briscoe, only a field goal. And then on a 3rd and 15, which was complete for a first down, he separates Meyer from the ball. So it's not that just he's made some big plays. He's made them at huge times during the ball game. And I go back to, without Lindy Holmes, I wonder what the score of this ball game is.
So the new line of scrimmage is the 50. Gresham, the tight end, inside the 35, down to the 34. There's Rivera and Harper on the tackle.
Good hands by Gresham, and he has suffered from the drops. We saw the one earlier today that he dropped near the goal line last year. He had a ton of drops, but he's worked very hard, and there you see him turn his hands over, get those thumbs together, and make a nice hands catch.
What did I tell you a minute ago? From the 50 to the 35, they don't tarry. They just don't stop there. They go beyond it.
Yeah, there's no reason to hang out there, Ron. There's no points there.
Tell you what, it must be low rent. I don't know what it is. Bradford. Got it complete. That's Iglesias. And Jackaroop, what do you got for us?
Ron, one of the things that Sam Bradford admitted last season when he played is he tended to be a little emotional when he was out there. It ended up with some happy feet. He ended up making some decisions to get flushed out of the pocket. This year, and you've seen him and I've seen him now, he is willing to stay in that pocket and take the hit after the pass. It's almost like Tiger Woods getting up over a putt. He doesn't get rattled anymore. He says it's because I try to be emotionless.
Well, it's an emotionless 445 yards for him today. New school record. How about that, Jack? Straight ahead, Murray. Nothing there. Bounces off. Bradford outside the block. And that was not a thing of beauty. But anyway, I think Murray's going to wind up losing 1 yard on the play.
You know, it's interesting talking about how calm Bradford is. And we've seen Todd Reesing, who has the same demeanor about him. And we've been around this conference now, going back to last year, seeing these young quarterbacks come up. They're all very similar in that way. They all don't let their emotions get ahead of them. They know the whole team is looking at them. It's amazing, not only their athletic attributes, but their mental attributes. They're all very similar, I think, in this conference.
There's some really good ones. They're going to shift Brown from the left side over to the right. Big opening. Has 5, has 10. Counted off at a gain of about, that's going to be what, 19 yards in the play. He'll take it to the 10-yard line. First and goal, Oklahoma.
I got the number of that truck. It was 72. Duke Robinson. I mean, he got his pads up underneath James Holt, and there was just no chance of closing that hole.
Chris Brown. Another opportunity at tailback as they go first down at the 10. Pressure. And the pass thrown in the end zone. A collision it just didn't have to be by Thornton, and it's going to cost him pass interference because they were just knocking Bradford down. I mean, he had all kind of pressure on him.
I think Thornton got spun around, and he never got his head back to see the ball, and so he ran in.
Pass interference. Number 46 defense. Ball will be placed at the 2-yard line as the foul is in the end zone.
And I think that Broyles, who's so good, the inside receiver here, sets him up, then spins back around, and Thornton, he bit on that hitch. And it's like that. It's like a hitch and go, and Thornton read that. And we know how good Broyles is when he turns and runs. He's very quick.
Play action, wide open, touchdown in the corner of the end zone. And that is Smith, Kobe Smith.
Smith in the game, of course, because Brody Eldridge, who moves between tight end and fullback, has an ankle injury, not able to go today.
Well, the amazing thing is we still got 12:02 left to play in this ball game. Stevens to attempt the extra point. He got it, and the new score as we go to break. One more look at this touchdown to Kobe Smith, reserve tight end. It is Oklahoma 45 and Kansas 24. So as now we have shadows covering 95% of the field here in Oklahoma territory. I'm just looking up here in total yardage. Oklahoma 637 yards, 407 for KU.
This is not the Big 8 anymore.
Boy, I mean, it is amazing to see those kind of yards. We still got 12:02 left to play in the ball game.
And as efficiently as these quarterbacks play, I don't know what defense you could play unless you had a bunch of guys who were going to go to the next level and be starters across the entire field, what you can do to defend these guys.
This is a spinner. High kick toward the sideline. And well, a couple of tackles are broken, and now all the way back to the 39 is Stuckey. 2:39 left to play. And KU brings the offensive unit out on the field. So Reesing got a little time to work with. Matt Weiner, let's check with you.
Ron, Missouri quarterback Chase Daniel has tossed just 4 interceptions all season, but 3 of them were last week in a loss to Oklahoma State. The 11th ranked Tigers trying to bounce back against #1 Texas at the top of the hour right here on ABC.
Okay, Matt, all of us looking forward to that one.
I'm a little surprised that Reesing's still in the game here at quarterback.
Sharp ankle high tackle. And there was Frank Alexander, second time, or the second tackle that he has recorded.
A couple of different reasons. Obviously, you don't want to lose Reesing for the rest of the season, but also Kerry Meyer has, I don't believe, gotten a snap.
I started to say the other problem there is Kerry, with all the bumps and bruises he's got, I'm sure they don't want him to become a target either. Third down and 7, under 2 minutes. And got that one complete at the 41 to Briscoe. Briscoe is off and running, still with the stiff arm, and he ran out of bounds and all the way into the end zone. And the official says touchdown. I thought for the world,
boy, it looked like
and the OU players are pointing, so are the coaches, that he ran out of bounds.
Well, it sure looked like he used a great stiff arm, and Briscoe at 6'3" has very long arms.
It was Lindy Holmes that he stiff armed.
Yeah, and it's not like Lindy Holmes is a small guy at 6'1".
Well, you just heard the reaction to the crowd because they just saw the replay.
They should buzz it. Well, Oklahoma's going to get the timeout here to challenge it. Boy, it sure did look like he went out of bounds.
Oh, he did.
Timeout. Oklahoma.
Whoa, that was a lot closer than I thought. I thought he clearly went out of bounds, but
Oklahoma is challenging.
That's the one. Let's see.
He's out of bounds
right there.
Yeah, it's a 25-yard line.
But I mean, by a cleat. It did look like it was more than that when he went out of bounds. Give him what an unbelievable day for Desmond Briscoe, a guy who was, like a lot of the receivers, in the doghouse earlier in the season.
That was out of bounds.
Yeah. It's like one screw in on your cleat out of bounds. So Bob Stoops will thankfully get this timeout back in case he wants to use it to lengthen the game a bit more.
After review, the runner stepped out of bounds at the 25-yard line. Oklahoma will not be charged a timeout. Timer put the game clock to 1:42.
So you can hear the game clock will be moved back to, what, 1:42.
You got one school record on one side for Sam Bradford, and now Desmond Briscoe.
.252 yards. Briscoe. Ball is caught by Meyer, and Perry is going to take it to, what is that, the 18. Nick Harris made the play, number 5.
Well, we're now over 1,100 yards of total offense between these two schools. And if you're keeping score, 670 yards for Oklahoma is not a school record. It is a gaudy 875.
Sharp not going to have the first down. It'll be 3rd down. And Mangino calls a timeout. 1:03 showing on the clock, so it gives us an opportunity to take a look at the Chevrolet players of the game. Desmond Briscoe, 11 receptions, 252 yards, and that man behind the super. Now we look at Briscoe, and I'm sorry, I read it in reverse, I assume. Lindy Holmes, 8 tackles, 2 interceptions, and 2 pass defenses. And Bobby Jack Wright visiting with him on the sideline.
You know what he's telling him? Do you know you just won the Chevy player of the game?
You know what? I know Bobby Jack really well, and I don't think that's what he said. I don't think, and he's not saying you can come to dinner with B and I. It's not. Third down, they need to take it to the 15. They are 0 for the day in third down conversions. They need to get off the snide right here. Lofts the pass for the end zone. It is caught for a touchdown by Briscoe. There's their initial third down conversion.
And not a bad one. And I would say that Texas Tech, Kansas State, Nebraska, Texas, and Missouri, the next opponents for Kansas, they're going to dial up number 80. Good coverage. I mean, Brian Jackson, the only thing he didn't find the ball soon enough. That's what Bobby Jack Wright will tell him in film, but perfect throw, wonderful route.
Extra point attempt is good, so we got 58 seconds left.
And of course, one of the things Mark Mangino learned while here at Oklahoma was go down to Texas and get some players. Desmond Briscoe out of Cedar Hill High School in Dallas, Texas.
You know, the interesting thing about it is the guy who plays behind him is from DeSoto and played at Cedar Hill High School also. That's Marcus Herford.
You see that a lot. And guys in different classes, because if you go in and get one young man to come and that young man has a good experience in your program, then other players at that high school say, well, why don't I go there? Herford's had a nice career, although he's been supplanted a little bit. And Mark Mangino, who worked with Bob Stoops at Kansas State. And then Bob Stoops, of course, went to Florida and became the defense coordinator when he was hired. Mark Mangino was a guy that he wanted, came as the offensive line coach, became the assistant head coach, and then, of course, the offensive coordinator. His 2 years, which included
Josh
Heupel in a 2000 national championship, they were 24-2 when Mark Mangino was an assistant here. It's almost hard to put that into context when you realize that Bob Stoops was hired in 1999. How quickly they got things going.
Let me tell you, the amazing thing about it is they got that gentleman right there. And for some reason, nobody wanted him. They did not think he was very good. And you know, he just has a tremendous record here at Oklahoma.
And Kansas going for the onside kick. I like the fight in them. They're down 2 scores with 58 seconds left. Why not?
Well, Lindy Holmes with the high jump and the catch. And OU has the ball at the 36-yard line.
And give a lot of credit to Mike Leach. Mike Leach went to school at BYU, has a lot of connections into that part of the country. And they went and found Josh Heupel. They knew they needed a quarterback, and they went to Snow Community College out in Utah, which is basically a feeder community college to BYU.
Yeah.
And BYU didn't want Josh Heupel. And it was funny, Josh Heupel in his first meeting, he didn't want to see the campus. He wanted to go look at film, what offense are we going to run. And he looked Bob Stoops in the eye and said, I've got 2 years. Can we win a national championship?
And the answer to that's no. You can win it in one. Isn't that right?
Yeah. Well, they won it the second, so the answer was yes. Yeah. And it was funny because Stoops said, when he said it, I thought he was crazy, but I kind of started believing it after he asked me that question.
Well, the Oklahoma running backs today, a total of just over 202 yards, and particularly Murray and Brown. You see their totals 84 and 92 respectively. So that's what, 176. Nice day for them. So he didn't start off running the ball that much, but they certainly got into a rhythm and did. Rivera makes the tackle on Madu. 9 seconds down to 8. scores. Oklahoma 45 and Kansas 31. So the Sooners get it going again and pick up the victory, winning over KU. So long, everybody, from Norman, Oklahoma.